Welcome back to AI for the Humanities. I'm Megan McInnes Dominguez, Associate Professor of Spanish at the University of Delaware. And this channel is your go to resource for exploring the intersection of generative AI and humanities education. We'll dive into the latest developments in large language models, or LLMs, discussing their benefits, challenges, ethical considerations, and practical applications in your classes. Our goal is to examine how these powerful tools relate to humanities education and how the humanities can shape the future of AI. Whether you're new to AI or have been experimenting with these technologies in your teaching, you'll find valuable insights and practical tips here. Join us as we examine this exciting frontier, exploring how the humanities can contribute to and benefit from the AI revolution. Today, I'm excited to reintroduce Logan Elkins, a senior communications major here at the University of Delaware and one of our talented interns from last semester's AI for the Humanities internship program. Logan will be taking us on a deep dive into Grok, one of the newest players in the AI landscape. He'll explore what makes Grok unique, examine its capabilities for humanities work, and critically assess both its potential and limitations. Take it away, Logan.
Hello, my name is Logan Elkins, and I am back with my second video on Grok, an AI tool of my choice. And before we get into the demonstrations like last time, I'll first go over a brief overview on what Grok is, just for a bit of a reminder. So first, what is Grok? As I said before in the previous video, Grok is a large language model, or LLM for short, developed by Elon Musk and one of his many companies, xAI. Grok is available via web browser, within X, formerly known as Twitter, or its own standalone app. So there's a lot of ways to access it throughout the online world. It has advanced capabilities like much other AI tools do, such as image generation, deep thinking, all kinds of stuff. It's also a boundary pusher in the AI atmosphere, having many more advanced capabilities compared to other tools like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, etc. Pretty much, I would say Grok led the charge in terms of image generation way before the other ones have done, personally, in terms of resolution, accuracy, stuff like that. And also, overall, having just more functionality and more fun features, such as Grok personas, which I've covered ad nauseum in my journal entries, but more on that a bit later, hopefully. Some key tools relating to the humanities. Some that I've listed here are pretty important, I would say. The topmost being image generation / image analysis, which for me is personally my favorite feature with Grok. Research assistance. On the advanced spectrum of features, think mode and deep search mode, both are pretty heavy when it comes to solving mathematical problems or just lengthy questions in general that require a lot of research. So with these four being said, let's now hop over to Grok to test out these features. All right, we are back on Grok now, and we are starting off with the image generation / analysis feature. Now, this is the very, very first time I've ever done this before, doing image analysis first, then generation. So I have here loaded up a picture from a Cat in the Hat book from Dr. Seuss. So here we are going to ask Grok to analyze this photo and pretty much tell me what it means, essentially, whether it be underlying details or surface level stuff, and then we'll go from there afterwards. So I'm going to tell Grok to tell me what's going on in this image and any potential symbolism. So while this loads, pretty much the reason why this is an example of the humanities is because image interpretation obviously is a very vital and key human feature, which now, as you can see, can be done by AI. So image processing and analysis is something that we're taught at a very young age in school, obviously. Even any walk of life, you learn how to analyze stuff. And now we can see AI doing it itself. So you can see Grok pretty much give a nice full description on what's going on. Stuff even as far as what the cat is wearing, the mischievous grin, all this kind of stuff, as well as just symbolism down here as well, the chaos, creativity, balance and skill, all kinds of stuff. A lot to read, too long for this video, obviously. But you can see right here, right now, Grok, in a matter of seconds, was able to dissect this image faster than anyone possibly can as a human being. Because no one's going to be able to look at this for 5 seconds and then be able to identify, oh, the balance skill represents this, nurturing, all this kind of stuff. So it's kind of insane to see how fast Grok can analyze stuff on its own. So with this being said, this might push the boundaries. This might be a flop. I don't know. We're about to find out. We're going to see if we can generate an image that kind of replicates the art style of Dr. Seuss, as well as maybe a passage as well. So I'm going to ask Grok to generate me a similar image based on what I provided above with a new story going on, for lack of better terms, and make it in the same artwork style. Let's see how this works. I don't have any hope. I don't know. This could be good, could be not good. We're about to find out. Oh, it's loading. Like I said, this is the first time I've done this before, so this might... Wow. Okay. I'm actually blown away. You guys have seen this live. This is my first take, I swear. So it's not a cat in a hat. It's a mouse in a hat, but very similar artwork style, as you can see up here with this image right here. A bit different, but same premise. It just made its own story. The mouse in the green bowler hat. And obviously AI is not the best with, language. As you can see, there's not a lot of English or any kind of legible English or words in this little paragraph up here. But you can see Grok once again stole yet another humanities job, which is making stories and making artwork right before our own eyes. This alone, I feel like, is just enough to prove the point about how crazy AI can be with the humanities. I don't want to take too much time using image generation, although it's my favorite feature. Let's move on to the next AI tool, being research assistants. All right, now for this example, we have a whole new clean slate for Grok. No more image stuff floating around. We are going to now tackle research assistants. So we're going to assume we are, just some kid in elementary school, and they have been tasked with researching fairy tales, for example. Pretty simple topic. So let's say this kid is lazy, he doesn't want to do his work. We're going to pose as a kid asking AI to help us research fairy tales. So we're going to tell Grok to tell me about the history of fairy tales and why they were written, origins, and more. And for sake of complexity and time, we'll say just put it all in simple terms. So I'd say this example alone has some ethical concerns, which we'll get into later in the presentation. This is really pretty much hijacking the whole learning process for kids who are in school. And again, pretty key feature in humanities is the ability to read and learn, and this kind of cheats the process. And as you can see, as I said that, has been done for a while now because Grok is just really fast and really smart. That's just AI for you. So it tells us right here, fairy tales are old stories passed on generation to generation, magical creatures, heroes, lessons. That's general consensus. We have the origins of fairy tales, oral tradition, its ancient roots, cultural mix, as well as why they are written. And as you can see, for all these different points, it's nice to organize too. You have nice bigger font, bolded, and then you have a bunch of subcategories under each main topic, which I think is really good for organization's sake. And it gives you a lot of information to work off of, because although I gave it a pretty short prompt, and I said it in simple terms, we still get a lot of information, but it's all useful information. And overall, just pretty good. I got a text. That was awkward. But yeah, so pretty much, sorry. It gives us a bunch of information about its history, key moments as well. It's pretty cool. We got Middle Ages, Renaissance, the Big Shift, that's news to me, Victorian era, and up until this point. So this is a lot more than I thought we were going to get, honestly, especially with me saying simple terms. I think having this explanation for its entire history from 500 to all the way till 2025, pretty much, that's really, really impressive. And the thing about AI that always gets me is just how fast it can generate all this information. Like, I think to me, it's just so impressive. And I feel like we just scratched the surface with AI. We're like nowhere even close to its fullest capabilities yet. So it's kind of crazy to see where we are now. Why do they matter? And even some fun facts. So you get a whole bunch of information here. You get fun facts, why it matters, its entire timeline, why it was written, origins and fairy tales. This is a kid's dream if you're doing an assignment for fairy tales or anything really in general. I feel like this is just a game changer. I feel like if I was in middle school or high school with this stuff, I'd be using it left, right, and center, to be honest. But yeah, as you can see here, pretty good job. One more prompt. We'll see what else we can do. Let's say we're in high school, all right? And I'm in math class, learning about standard deviation. I hate standard deviation with my whole heart. I want to ask Grok to teach me how to use it. So I'll say I am in high school math, learning standard deviation, and I am lost. Please teach me how to do it with step-by-step examples. And I have full confidence in Grok because basically what we've seen so far, it's been pretty effortless with everything it does. So as we see, we get a definition of what standard deviation is. It's certain components being the mean, standard deviation. You get population, sample, all kinds of stuff. You get a whole diagram of what the equation looks like, the variables that come into play, how to calculate it, examples with test scores. Pretty crazy stuff. I'm not a big math guy, so this example was really boring me because I hate math, but it's getting the job done. If I was in math in high school again, this would be so clutch. Like I said, step by step, pretty crazy stuff. And again, like the first example, this, at the end of the day, is as cool as it seems, you're cheating the learning process. And I think if this becomes a constant fixture amongst kids in education, it'll become a big issue. And I'm a hypocrite. I just said if I was in high school, I'd be using this, but we all know it would not be a good idea. It's a quick way to get things done if you're on a time crunch, but overall, if you do use it, it's still best to try to learn the best you can to ensure you're learning the material and prepare for the real world. But yeah, we got a whole lot of information here. You even promised for us to do ourselves. That's pretty cool. What everything means, all kinds of information. So I feel like overall, I would say if I was in a math heavy major, because I'm in media communications, Grok would be crazy help. Just even not like doing the work for me, but helping me learn how to do the work. So, like for example, if I'm doing an essay, sometimes I will ask like, hey, where should I start? Give me some ideas. But I won't be like, hey, write the whole paper for me. So I think overall AI can be used to help get the ball rolling, but don't roll the ball the entire way type of thing. And because we have a bit more time, we'll do one more example, which is a newer feature and one that I am most excited for. All right, for this last AI tool, I'll be showing off a little bonus one since we're a little bit short on time, is one I did not cover a lot in the keynote. I mentioned it once and that was it. This one, next to image generation, is probably my favorite feature, honestly, and I think this is why Grok is the game changer that it is. This is Grok Personas. You can't see it right now because as soon as I tap this button in the bottom right corner, whatever I say will be called to the mic, so I'm trying to wait that out until I'm ready to talk to it. So pretty much Grok has a plethora of personas, and one I'll be using today is the therapist persona. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to Grok and press the therapist persona, and it'll give me some advice. And you guys will see firsthand just how crazy this is. So, press this button. So as you can see in that demonstration, it's pretty accurate because of being a therapist. And there's also a doctor feature, argumentative, general assistant, storyteller, a whole bunch. Too much to cover, honestly. But it's pretty crazy how accurate and how much information it can give you based on just one little prompt. And I think this is one of the biggest examples of how AI affects humanities, because it just took a therapist's job immediately. Because therapists, obviously, pretty popular career field, I would say, and people that make a lot of money off it. And this was free advice that I just asked it to give me. So I feel like this is a pretty big and impactful example on how AI can control humanities. Well, not control, but really affect the entire workforce in general. Now, I wouldn't recommend always going to AI for advice, but it's definitely an option, and it definitely helped. It gave me a lot of information, as you can see in this paragraph, a little transcription of what it said. And I feel like it's still a pretty new feature, and it's like, 10 personas, I think. But I think this is probably my favorite because of just how accurate it is in its information. And also, you can change the voices too, but the default voices resonate pretty well with the persona they're trying to replicate and stuff. So yeah, that is the Grok personas. Having tested out these features, some have been shown, some have not been shown in demonstration, but there always are some form of limitations when using AI. Commonly, whatever I see the most is boundaries with image generation. I've done this in a previous video before, and sometimes things aren't too accurate, and if you kind of like pile on request after request after request, it'll distort the prompt and make the image a bit more or a bit less accurate over time. Along with this kind of goes hand in hand with image generation error, just general missteps or bugs with functions. So obviously AI is not perfect, and sometimes it may not understand what you're asking it to do or to demonstrate or define. So sometimes things aren't 100% accurate. Like, for example, in the earlier stages of AI, if you were to ask it to write a paper and include X amount of sources, it would make up their own sources that aren't even real, thus potentially throwing off your entire paper and, getting in trouble with your school. Also, potential cultural bias. This I will cover in the next slide, actually, which we'll get into that right now. With cultural bias, there are some assumptions in the last bullet point. I'll go out of order here. Because Grok was pretty much, obviously, brought up and raised in the Western world, United States, there are people out there who believe that Grok's reliance and upbringing in the Western world and the use of English language may cause some kind of cultural imbalance or a bias, since that's where it was raised. For example, example of a bias is some AI tools, when they're being first generated, pretty much, long story short, when they are trained to recognize faces or stuff like that, a lot of times they were trained using white people, and whenever a black person was brought into the equation of some kind of image generation or stuff like that, things wouldn't turn out as accurate as it would for a white person. So there's always a bias depending on how the tool is being developed as well. Back to the first bullet point, though, biases in AI outputs and or potential misuses by users could potentially distort interpretations of information or cultures. So this is more of a cultural implication. Pretty much the best way to define this is pretty much, I feel it as if AI learns from the user itself, as well as other means of methods. Like Grok, for example, learns a lot from X since they're really intertwined. And it's potential that, like I said, AI is not perfect. They might have misunderstanding about certain cultures, certain, like even like stuff like stories or books or whatever. And that could be a form of misinformation and could really have a big domino effect on how people learn certain cultures and different information. Ethically, students using AI for schoolwork, that's a pretty big issue because that undermines the entire point of being in school, which is learning. If you use AI for all your assignments, that could become a big issue, obviously, with learning, because you're not going to do the work if AI is doing it for you, which can then set you back. For example, in my age range, a lot of people in college use AI to do math problems or language problems or science stuff, and you're missing out on the learning, which is why you pay to be here. And in the long run, it'll mess you up if you're in a career and you took courses relevant to your career in college or high school and used AI to learn anything about it. So now in your career world, you're kind of messed up. So there's a lot of different ethical and cultural implications. Those are the main three I see as issues: schoolwork, the upbringing of the AI tool in question, as well as potential cultural misinformation. So that's pretty much all I have for this video. It's interesting to see how AI can really affect the humanities for good and for bad. I think overall it's a pretty sticky situation within terms of, I think the first bullet points, the main point I want to get across is potential misinformation. Since AI is not perfect, it is not the smartest being out there, and there's a lot more work to be done to make AI perfect. But I think we have to be careful with what we use, how we use it, and all that kind of stuff. So thank you guys so much for listening to my video. This is Logan Elkins, signing off.
As we've seen today, Grok offers powerful capabilities that can enhance humanities research and pedagogy, from image analysis to deep research assistance. However, with these tools come significant responsibilities. We must remain vigilant about the biases embedded in AI systems, thoughtful about how Western-centric perspectives may dominate outputs, and intentional about preserving the authentic learning experiences that define humanities education. The question isn't whether to use AI tools like Grok in our classrooms, but how to use them ethically, critically, and in ways that enhance rather than replace genuine intellectual engagement. As humanities scholars and educators, we have a unique role to play in shaping how these tools develop and how they're integrated into educational spaces. By bringing our critical thinking skills, cultural awareness, and commitment to ethical inquiry to these conversations, we can help ensure that AI serves humanity's diverse interests rather than narrowing them. Thank you for joining us on this episode of AI for the Humanities. A special thanks to Logan Elkins for this excellent exploration of Grok and its implications for humanities education. If you found this video valuable, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. What are your experiences with AI in humanities education? How do you navigate the ethical challenges we've discussed? Let's continue this important conversation together. Until next time, keep thinking critically about the intersection of technology and the human experience.
We're asking questions to machines that learn from all the patterns, every twist.